Live from the chicken wing capital of the world, Buffalo, New York. You're listening to the Childcare Bridge podcast, your source for the best tips, tools, and tactics on how to market and grow your childcare center, ensuring total domination. Total domination. This is the Childcare Bridge, and this is your host, Michael Tasner.
Burnout. One of the massively negative consequences of being in the business of helping kids, helping families, and serving the community. It's a topic that is talked about from time to time, but it's one of those that some people wear as a badge of honor. They wear it as this badge of honor and talk about how many hours they put in last week. And well, I'm cranking out 80-hour work weeks as if that's a big accomplishment. But every now and then, when you are able to let your guard down and you're in a room traditionally with your peers or people that you know can sympathize, you start to talk about the long days, the hard days, the not enough money that you're making, the challenges, the team issues, and all of those things. So last week, I had the privilege of speaking at an industry conference called Dance Teacher Web, their summer expo. And if you guessed the topic, or the audience rather, it was dance teachers, dance studio owners. So the dance teachers went on one set of tracks, and that was more about the teaching side of things and choreography and new dances. And then I had 3 different sessions that I gave to help studio owners grow. I said, well, Michael, why are you sharing this? I don't own a dance studio. Well, within about 2 hours of kind of walking around and just chatting, I quickly realized that dance studio owners and childcare center owners are one of the same. You're doing things to serve families, help kids. Now there's some nuanced differences. So dance studios, for example, they have an extremely long kind of family lifetime value. And not necessarily the dollar amount, but some dancers come in at age 3 and stay until 18 if they don't end up moving from a community. So they might be with that studio for 10, 15 years. Now the tuition is exponentially lower. So while they might come into your dance studio and stay for 10 years, for example, typically a couple $100 a month, so they're only worth a few $1,000s a year, but that obviously compounds over 5, 10, even potentially 15 years, where as an owner of a child care center, those numbers are much tighter. You might get $1,000 a month for the course of 3 years and get that $30,000 of top line sales pretty quickly. But what I realized was that this topic of burnout needs to not only be addressed, but I need you to start putting things into practice to reverse the cycle. One of the many things that I've been talking about over the last 6 months on this show is that I am seeing more childcare centers closing than I ever have. And number 2, I'm seeing more centers that are literally just going under. So either closing, selling, and or going under. Now, we've talked about a lot of the reasons for this. One of the biggest reasons that center owners close and they don't even sell, they just say, I'm done, is due to burnout. And it was the same thing that I heard at this dance conference. Michael, I'm working in season 60, 70, 80, even 90 hours a week. And then when you layer on top that they're not insanely profitable, they're not lining their coffers, working a lot of hours, you do have the days that help get you through things, and that is you're able to see the impact that you're making. You're able to see the transformation of mainly women, but some men also that go to these dance studios. In your case, you're able to see a shorter glimpse of that transformation, but you're able to see some goodwill that you are creating and doing within the community. But is that enough? I would argue the answer is no. So there's 3 things that I'm going to give you today that I need you to start to think about, but more so to look at how do you actually put these into action? How do we get it to a place where you're working way too many hours, constantly stressed out, lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much more of this can you take? Wondering all of these hours that you're working, how is this then going to negatively impact your health, your spouse or partner, your kids' lives, your kids? Step 1 is more of a mentality. And I've said this a few times, but I'm going to repeat it. And I said this probably 50 times last week. King and queen eat first. The king and queen eat first. So what does that mean? Your business needs to serve you. Your business is here to serve you and your family before everyone else. You need to put profits and making money extremely high on the list. You can't just outwork everything. If you're not making enough money, how do you sustain the business? So you're saying, well, I'm doing this for the good of the community and all of these dancers and all of these families. But if you as the owner can't even sustain your life and you end up closing, well, you just ruined a heck of a lot more lives than just yours. People that counted on you and your studio. People that saw this as their second home, for example. So when you're thinking of your business, your childcare center, hopefully multiple centers, if you don't have them now, you will get to that place because that's when things get really exciting. But I need you to shift from a mental standpoint of I'm here to serve only to I am here to get fed first. That means profits. That means tracking all of your numbers on a daily basis, taking profits first from the business, taking a healthy salary. Well, Michael, the business isn't making enough money. Well, we all know what the solution to that is. It's the thing that I talk about week after week after week. You out-market everyone. Marketing first. Marketing above all. That drives the leads. The leads drive tours. Tours equal enrollments. Enrollments equal money. You need to be charging enough tuition, and you need to have enough enrollments to where you can easily take a salary and not have to second guess things. Now, if you're a brand new startup, that's a little bit of a different story. But this business needs to serve you first. That is the first step, and it is much more of a mindset pivot above anything else. Taking profits first. Eating first. Taking a salary, but knowing that the business is here to serve you before everyone else. Number 2, systems and processes. When I walk into a childcare center and I size things up, not just from a marketing standpoint, but from operations, team, culture, accounting, financials, all these things, I ask for a list, whether that's in writing, whether that's on videos. Let me see all of your standard operating procedures. Show me your handbooks, show me how we do certain things, show me your marketing plans, how you're going to generate enrollment, show me your leadership team, show me your organizational chart, your strategic plans, your vision. I want all of that. Now, if you could guess how much of that I normally get based on what's actually done, let's call it less than 10%, usually 1 to 5%. Typically, the one thing that I'm able to see, well, there's usually 2. There's an employee handbook, and then there usually are a couple of checklists, like classroom checklists, for example. But if I were to then say, well, who has to keep track of disciplinary actions, and how do you track that? Show me when we expand and we get more enrollments, how do we hire? Show me the process for that. How do we pick budgets? What do the job descriptions look like? What's the interview cadence? How do we check the references? And usually the wheels start to fall off when I ask those questions. And I'm there to help, but I need to also poke holes in things to find out what needs to be fixed first. There's an amazing book, The Checklist Manifesto. There's another great book, The E-Myth, that's all about working on the business, not in the business. But what I have learned is that without systems and processes, you are absolutely sunk. The Checklist Manifesto, for example, was talked about in the operating room. I believe that was like the premise of the book. That when hospitals didn't have checklists, and they didn't just jump in and do surgery, but they didn't have a checklist, that just in putting in a checklist reduced like error percentages, infections, mortality rates exponentially. So if you don't have checklists, how can someone else do the work? And we're going to pivot to team in just a second, but think about that. If everything is in your head, if you're the only one that knows the interview questions, if you're the one that has to pick all the budgets, if you're the only one that can size up financials or enrollment data, if you're the one that has to be placing the food orders, because there's no process or no system, the easiest way for you to start to offload that stuff is going to be to record videos and to document all of these things as you're doing them. Scribe How is a great tool. Useloom.com is another amazing tool. Even just dictation with your cell phone. But you need to start recording all of these processes so that you can delegate things off of your plate. Now, last but not least is team. So, well, how does that reduce my burnout? Well, when you have your systems and processes dialed, you can start to delegate. But not all teams are created equal. I can tell you that there's many days in my career where I feel like the team that I have is not at the level that they need to be. And then I start taking a couple of steps back and I ask myself a few questions. Number one, am I doing everything that I can be doing to help that team member be successful? The answer is almost always no. Number two, do they have all of these systems and processes to execute their job? Or three, do they actually know what their job is and how they're being tracked from a growth perspective? So you can complain all day long, and I've been there. Like, my team stinks, this stinks, that person's no good, they messed that up. You're going to have those issues, but you have to look in the mirror. And you have to realize that usually it is not a people issue, it is a systems issue. But when it comes to people, where I want you to look at over the next week is, what does your culture look like? Do you have a pulse? Are people and pulse on the culture, not do you actually have a physical pulse? Is your team happy? Are they well compensated? Do they know what the goals and the objectives are at your center? Do they have what they need to be successful? Do you have some of those personal relationships? The childcare business is a people-driven business. You need people to avoid burnout. You can't be the owner, the director, the teacher. Can you do that, I guess, in a home center with a couple of kids? Sure. My unpopular opinion is that that is not a childcare business. That's a side hustle. Business, by definition, can work without you. So yes, you're doing some goodwill, and there's a lot of amazing home-based centers, but I work with people that want to grow a business that they can step out of. And for you to be able to step out, I need you to be able to not be burned out 24/7. The king and queen eat first, so you need to be focusing on profits, making sure that you're able to take a salary. Number two, heavy focus on systems, processes, checklists, documentation. Number three, ensuring that if your team has all the resources that they need, how are you building them up? How are you coaching them? How are you showing the growth plans, how they can grow within your organization? How are you maintaining that pulse of the culture and keeping the culture moving in the right direction? How are you leveraging your team as ambassadors to also help grow your childcare empire? Now, while there are a lot of other ways to reduce burnout, and we can talk about you need to meditate and take vacations and all of that, I wanted to give you 3 actionable things that you can start to move the needle on now. Because I can promise you, and I've been there many, many days, many weeks, many months, where I've worked 70, 80, 90, even 100 hours, to where literally pretty much I worked nonstop, slept 3 to 4 hours a night. Not only is that terrible for your health, It builds the opposite relationship of your business and you that I want. I want you to have a healthy relationship, a profitable relationship, and be able to do good at the same time. Reduce your burnout, your profits will soar, your happiness will improve, everything will start to get better. Michael Tsasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.